Hey guys, how's it going? So we are going to be diving into the Lorcana $10,000 tournament that took place this past weekend, which is the second week of December. So it is a actually pretty exciting tournament going on right here. 219 players, and we have a lot of great, interesting cards that might be surprising you. So let's go ahead and take a look. Alright, first and foremost, this was a tournament that took place on the 14th of December in 2024, and again, we are still seeming like we're adjusting pretty well into Azurite C. We do also have, the next sets that have already been announced. It's looking like end of February, early March is going to be when the first set comes out of this next year. So we got this meta going around for a while, and I do gotta say, it feels pretty good all around. Now, we do have a lot of kind of like SteelSong or, Amber Steel decks. What's really interesting, though, is that Popsicle and, Ruby Sapphire is feeling like it's getting a little bit too slow now, especially for how fast the game suddenly improved. This last set, we were at a much slower game, minus, the few aggro decks that we had with, like, SteelSong or, Amber Steel. We had, the discard, kind of thing going on. But, even EA in particular didn't necessarily do that good, but we were seeing it now being able to top 16, top 8, even potentially should have even won the EU competition there. And so it's been really cool to see how, first off, wide this meta is, but especially how good and faster this game has even progressed as well. And so without further ado, we're going to be jumping into some decks. And, why save the best for last? We save the best for first here. It is going to be Amber Steel. So, it's a very interesting build right here. Now, of course, this was done and won first place by B.D. Candio. So, of course, that's not his real name. That's just his name that he has of his profile. But still, we will give credit where credit's due. Cinderella, 4. Pretty standard. Daisy Duck, 4. Sure. 3 Happy. Now, this is a pretty cool one, especially because he's a 2-1, and at the start of his turn, he is evasive, so you can go against some pretty good matchups there, trying to get rid of, it's a Diablo answer or whatnot that you could possibly have. Calhoun, also another great option. 4 of them, which is kind of interesting, just because, it is a uninkable, and during certain matchups, it can actually be kind of a dead card, especially like Ruby Sapphire. I've actually kind of regretted having that card because they're generally only going to be dropping a Tipo and then going straight into, if not a Grammatala, just a straight up Maui, But hey, worked for them. They got first, can't complain. They won more money than me. 4 Doc, which is pretty cool too. 4 Lilo, really interesting because some people even opt in to run 2 or 3 even, just because if you draw this card, it's basically either going to get inked, but it's really nice to be able to discard it with Doc, play it back on the next turn for 2. It's just me, pretty standard. Piglets have been pretty cool too. Again, though, he is a pretty easy target just because he does not have any ward and only 2 damage. So fire the cannons and things like that can take him out pretty easily. Brawls, all that jazz. A lot of answers to him. But even if you can just get him to quest once, he's going to be able to quest for 3, and that gets you that much closer. Now, Lawrence. He's actually been one of my favorite answers just because he's something that you can always quest with time and time again. And basically say, okay, you need to attack me, and I'm going to be dealing 4 damage to you. And so you kind of wait on him, keep questing and whatnot, unless there's a bigger threat that you feel the need to actually take out on. Otherwise, you just keep up your lore until they're forced to attack into you. Pretty awesome. 4 Pete's, for those big answers. Especially against Amber Steel. Being able to, hey, I play an Ariel, cool, well, you can't sing. 2 Plutos. He's actually been really good, especially in Amber Steel, where you do want to actually guard your characters a lot better. Pluto can come in as a bodyguard right away and deal 5 damage. Regardless, you're going to be sending in at least one thing to take him out. They're having games where, I've taken a fire the cannons into him and whatnot, and that's made a lot of help, but you're still having to focus on him with a lot of resources for an entire turn in order to open up the rest of the field, and for a 4 cost, that's actually pretty damn good. Now, Rapunzel, of course, pretty awesome too. Pluto can take some damage, whatever can take some damage. We'll remove it, call it good. Kita, same thing. Super awesome. When you play this character, all characters get -3 until the start of your next turn. That can be a big momentum winner right there, just because you can then quest and everything and play this card, and your opponents can't actually attack back, and your characters are safe for another round of questing. So, and then of course let the Storm Rage on, Raging Fire, and Seven Dwarf Mine, dealing 2 damages if it is a knight, which we do have Doc and Happy, of course. So, really cool deck. Love the idea of it. And it's been a really fun one to be able to see. So, with that as well, now we got the second place of Ruby Sapphire by Jeremiah Chatham. And so this is actually a really good one. The biggest thing about this one is you're trying to ramp up as fast as you can to be able to play out the big stuff and stop your opponent's progression. There are times that you're going to be seeing your opponent getting to 10, 12, or and then you start making your comeback. You start removing things like you start removing their board with Mauis and with half sharks and Sisus and things like that. And then once you're able to start doing that, you just gain control of the game and you just work your way up to the 20 and you call it good. One of the nicest things that I love is that people are starting to play Ice Blocks again. Ice Block is a super great card, especially when you are running it with brawls. Your bigger cost characters that have 3, 4 attack, just mark them down and then you draw them out and they are good to go. So really cool to see. Everything in this deck is pretty standard. Now, Vitalosphere at 1, interesting. Shield of Virtue is really good too, but it costs 3. Already chosen character, they can't quest for the rest of the turn. The nice part is, though, you're usually not suffering for any ink. The hard part I have with decks sometimes, though, is playing 1 costs. It's like, why would you be playing these 1 costs? I get it, just because especially with this deck that is a little bit heavier on the card draw, which is good. But you're still you're at least playing 13 items this time, which is more than I've seen. And that's the nice part. But 1 lucky dime, when it comes time that you do need a lucky dime for something, good luck finding it almost. But this guy ended up winning 2nd place, did a really good job. Hideaway, Sail the Azurite Sea, Vision of the Future, Brawl, 3, How Far I'll Go. Great card, probably one of my favorite cards in this style of deck. This is one of the decks I play. And then a Let It Go, just put it into their ink bowl, call it, and be prepared, of course. So all in all, really good deck. Got 2nd place. Now, this is one of also my favorite decks here, just because it's a really fun risk and reward kind of style deck with the Asa. Now, biggest thing that I love is that Ruben here was able to take 3rd here with a, not exactly SteelSong. You have singers in here, but you also have a lot more of kind of control and card draw, which I absolutely love. Biggest thing though, Cinderella, 4 Daisy Duck, 2 Calhoun, 2 Doc, which is good. I usually try to play 2 or 3 because you don't want to see too much of him, because then it just gets overwhelming. If you draw a Doc and a Doc, you're like, it just hurts. Then they're done that. Ursula Vanessa, really good being able to sing your Zeus cards turn 3. You put something big out, turn 3, see ya, kind of thing. Also really good at being able to take out, any of the genies or anything like that that might be threatening the board. Doc, leader of the 7 dwarves, just making everything cheaper when he quests. Quest for 2. Makes things 1 less. Cost 1 less. And is still a 2/3 on top of that great card. Surprised he actually isn't played more, just because he can really help you just up your resources. The hardest part, though, again, is card draw in this matchup, or in this deck, and so you just got to be a little careful with that. Lawrence, again, talked about him, really good card. Heat, stop singing. Pluto, protect your stuff. Punzel, absolute staple. Again, protect your stuff. Gantu. Now, Gantu is actually one of my favorite cards here in this set. The biggest thing that I really love about Gantu, 1, he's a captain, so he stops Smee from hurting himself, which is really good. He's also a cranky head, which means that he wants to go aggressive. He goes aggressive by questing for a lot. So the nicest thing about that is that he's going to be coming in, and I love being able to put him in on turn 5 because when he comes in on turn 5, you are normally going to be between 8 and 12 floor, and boom, here's your pressure. Awesome. I'm going to be questing for 4. I'm going to be going to 14, 15, 16, whatever it might be, with the additional stuff that I already have on my board. And so he's just a big pressure maker. Odds are people aren't going to be having be prepared unless you're going against the Sapphire. Then they might have the be prepared ready by turn 5, but generally you're at least going to be able to quest with Gantu once. There are some ways, of course, that they can take him out. Generally, the nice part is they are going to be focusing on him. Their other stuff is potentially going to be safe, and if not, you're going to be questing for 4. Just a really fun card. Now, this is the dice roll here. You are going to be rolling the dice when he dies, but he is a 5 that costs, he is a 5 cost that is a 3/3 questing for 2, and when you banish this character, you may reveal the top card, and if it is a character, you play that for free. Cool. So that means, you could hit some of your big stuff. Even if you don't, though, you're still getting, a pretty good return on investment here, especially just playing 11 songs and a 60 card deck. Cool. It's like I will go ahead and take the chances on that and go from there. So anyway, but he can just go ahead and die, gets his job done, does some damage, quests, kind of thing, and then you get another card in. And then of course Cinderella, one of my favorite cards in this deck. Resist 2 5/5 questing for 3. And whenever you play a song, this character may challenge ready characters. You think they're safe? No, they're not. You're going to shift in with a Cinderella on turn 5 and then eat for turn and, whatever it might be, and be able to control the board with that. So, really fun stuff. Now, this is going to be a really interesting deck by Kendall. Now, he ended up getting 4th at the tournament with Ruby Amethyst. Now, this is, of course, the deck that I played last set, so it's a very interesting option here. And, pretty standard build. It actually didn't really change too much from this last set, which is cool. But it feels like it just really needed to answer a lot more of the meta here. Being able to get a little faster and just have a bit more of a board presence. And so they were able to do that. Now, of course, we have the Chernobog's Magic Room, Flynn Rider. I'm just going to gain 3 lore on turn 3, give or take, or turn 4 when after I play my Sisu. Or your Sisu or your Fox can really make a big difference with that. Get your card draw. I actually am really surprised that he's not playing Diablo over that. But hey, he got 4th place. That's awesome. And so that's the biggest thing there, though. But he's got a good he's got a good turnaround on that's so far. Sisu, for obvious answers, you can also go into Big Sisu. Come turn 6, if your little Sisu manages to live, 3 Genie, 4 Murder Goat, 3 Rabbit. And I'm wondering if he would have played 4 Goat, or whatnot. 3 Goat is still really good, especially since it is uninkable. But you're also playing 3 Rabbit. I generally go for 4 and 2, but really good. Again, 1 Bell Mystic, so it's like, okay, cool. When you see it, you need it. But yeah, that's just kind of how it is. 4 Elses absolutely needed. Now we hear it to all 3 of them. It's a good card. Can just control the board. He can just come in hitting hard. Lady Tremaine, they get to pick one and banish it. And it's good just to kind of, they have to pick one. Same with that one. Target one of 3 or less. You get to choose, though. Everything else is pretty standard. Now, one that I actually really like here is a Maui Fishhook. This can really help you because you don't have a whole ton of evasives. Maui Fishhook can come in for 2, give your character evasive, and be able to have +3 attack, so that they can really just swing in, take out, or just with evasive, sorry, or 3 attack. That's very handy just because you can swing in, take out the big threats, aka the other genies, if need be. And then, of course, if Maui is out, you don't even have to pay to use it, technically, which is really. You can make Maui evasive and he can just swing right into a genie and he's taken care of. Swing into Diablo, whatever it might be, and you can take that out pretty easily. So, it's actually been a really cool thing to see that balance control is still in here. Now, of course, at the same time, the meta still feels pretty wide. There's a lot of decks, but that are able to be played pretty well. The difficult part is, though, this set of Azurite Sea has made the game so much quicker. And so there's a lot of the slower decks, Ruby, Ruby Amethyst, Sapphire Steel, Ruby Ruby Sapphire, things like that that were these slower decks that could build up really well, and then just dominate the end game, now have a harder time keeping up. And so it's really cool to see just, how they're adjusting, but also just how wide, even the top 10, example. Anyway, so next, my favorite deck, the deck I play. Have it right here, Squirrel deck. Absolutely love this deck. And this guy ended up getting 5th at the tournament, so that is reassuring for myself. Now, of course, his deck is actually pretty straightforward. Now, yes, finally, someone else playing a Maleficent fighting time. I absolutely love this card. One of my favorite cards in the deck, because there have been multiple games that I have on the channel where people are seeing me quest for 2 with Maleficent, and they've even sent in their Chernabogs to stop me from questing 2 to get too far ahead. So they are hurting themselves on stopping them to get one less card, no lore, to trade into a character that has already quested. I love that. I play 3 Maleficents personally. 2 Calhouns, very good. 3 Docks, same here. 4 Smee, 4 Fox, 2 Crab. I don't play any Crab. 2 Pete, 4 White Rose. We play 2. 4 Genie, 4 Merlin Goat, 1 Yzma, which is really interesting. The hardest part about Yzma is that you do have to wait a turn. She's still a really good card, being able to quest for 2 and do a 3/3, but it is a one or the other. You can either quest or you can draw up to 3 cards. So a little bit of a risk and reward there, and it's like, unfortunately, you're going to be waiting a turn after you play it, and then you might only be able to get it off. That's a little bit of a risk, but also only playing 1 is a little bit tough because when it comes that you need it, the odds of you seeing it aren't very high in a 60 card deck. But I mean, still, he managed to get 5th place with this, so that's absolutely awesome. I'm actually really surprised with this only 2 Elsas here. Elsa's just a really good card, just for the fact that it can target and exert a chosen opposing character with evasive and rush. So you're just able to swing in, take out a genie right away with another genie helping you, kind of thing, and just really catch your opponent off guard on some control, which is really awesome. I'm actually kind of surprised he doesn't run any Bell in here too, but he runs the 3 Gantu. This is actually the deck that I use to really help fix up my deck here, and I added back in Gantu. Again, it's kind of the same thing where you get between the 8-12-ish lore by turn 5, and then you drop Gantu, and it's just like, oh, you just see the people drop their shoulders, and if they don't have an answer, you're going up, and you might already have a Smee on board, you might already have something else, a Smee and a Diablo, so you're going to be gaining 7 in a turn, and you're already at 10. It's like, we're in trouble. So it's just a really good card. Befuddle I'm actually kind of iffy on, because it's good because it returns a character or item with cost 2 or less to the player's hand. It's a good card, but come mid to late game, I just always found myself, sending it back or sending it. But still, it's a good card. It can really slow people down, especially in the early game. You have that in your hand, they go Chernabog, and then, they pass. You quest with your character, then you play Befuddle, send their character back, and they get a whole turn behind. That's pretty good. I prefer Fire the Cannons with that over Befuddle. And then also just throwing in like something else. I've been loving Smash in this deck a lot. But yeah, he has some really good answers just to help kind of crowd control and get some good momentum going. And 3 Queen's Castles, just in case he happens to get into some trouble. I would love to actually see some gameplay on him playing this deck just to see how it actually ends up going. And congrats on getting 5th place. That is absolutely amazing. And we're just going to look at a couple more decks, of course. we're going to be looking at a bounce, and then I think we're going to go with Cogsworth and Friends, and then call it good here. But here's one by Gerald Trahan. Yeah. He ended up getting here with an EA deck. Now, EA has been actually pretty good because it's coming back. Unfortunately, it was a little bit too slow this last set for whatever reason. And it's so interesting because Go-Go and Genie have made such a difference for this deck. This is a deck that my girlfriend learned how to play the deck with. And so, yeah, it's just a really fun that you can do. And Kit Cloud Kicker coming back into it is actually so here this deck is by Gerald Traham, and he ended up getting ninth in this tournament playing, Amethyst Emerald. Pretty good actually. Love this deck and love what this is trying to do. Unfortunately, with the last set, it wasn't the fastest, unfortunately, but with the addition of playing, the genies and with Go-Go, you're actually able to really sneak in some amazing ones with Go-Go especially. There was even like a game that I saw where someone had 5 damage on a Hiram. You play 2 extra, play Go-Go, and you gain 5. It's like, that's detrimental. There's nothing that can really gain you 5. Yes, is that a rare circumstance? Sure, but it's still a really good. Go-Go can get you 2 to 4 lore coming right. Super awesome. Of course we're going Diablo, some Bonsai. It's like you got to trade in. I'm going to be questing for 2, and you got to trade into him, or I'm going to keep questing for 2. Ursula Deceiver, really good. I've seen some people play this at 3, just because not a lot of people are playing songs, and so it's like, yeah, if you just happen to, you know, hit flat, you at least get to know the person's hand, which is good. Now, Kit Cloud Kicker is such an annoying card. It's a good card because you can just rotate him. You play the Kit Cloud Kicker, you bounce something with 2 or less attack, and then you can play, your snakes, you can play your boxes, bounce them back into hand, and then you can clear something out again. This takes out genies right back to hand. It's like, I'm okay with you paying 4 to draw 1 card. That's a win in my book. Especially because next turn, it's like you feel so bad about having a genie in hand that you feel the need that you have to play it back out. And so being able to just keep sending it back over and over again can just feel amazing. Now, of course, we do have Crab to take care of those big threats. White Rose, 2 of them, 4 Genie, 4 Goat, 4 Rabbit, 2 Bell to do damage. I love Cricky. Cricky's in my girlfriend's deck, and the big reason why Cricky is because when it comes into play, not only does it quest for 3, but it adds 3 attack to all your other characters, meaning that you can just really board control in the turn that he comes in, and then whatever happens, happens, and he's able to quest for 3, which can really be a good ship. Elsa, of course, for obvious reasons, and Ursula. Now, Ursula being at 1 is, that's fair. Especially because if you see her in the beginning game, unfortunately, you're just going to be discarding um, you're going to just be putting her for ink. And so I totally get the drop. You really only want to see her at the end game, and if you do see her, great. And if you don't see her, you don't really miss her. So, and then friends on the other side from some card draw. So, all in all, though, I am actually really loving how all of this is looking. This is a deck that I've actually really been wanting to try. I love the Simba Future King, and the other couple of symbols that you can shift into. And this is actually a really interesting shift because you can shift 4, and when you play this character, you may banish chosen item or location. So you got some answers, and Future King is able to draw a card at this card. That's really handy, and Ryan here managed to get 12th with this deck. Absolutely impressive. You got your basic ramp going on. Now, this is an interesting card. During your turn, this character gains evasive. He's able to quest for 2, and he's able to do 3 damage for 4 health. Whoa, that's pretty good. For a 4, little high. Do I prefer Scrooge McDuck over that for 5? Yes, but he is inkable, whereas Scrooge is not. But Scrooge being a 5/5 and being able to quest for 2, sure, he's not evasive. but it's like people have to attack into him, and you're going to be losing one good thing or two okay things in order to take care of Scourge. And I almost prefer Scourge. Of course, Cogsworth is still here. I mean, being able to gain resist on all of your characters he has ward, boom, that's awesome. Ariel, amazing. Can quest for 5 whenever you have another item in hand. Or Tinkerbell just does damage like crazy. Hades, put it back. Call it good. And Tamato. I've seen actually some people be running a lot of uh, Baymaxes as well, which has been really interesting to see. I've really liked what we've been able to see with that. But yeah, 3 Tamatoas, 3 Fortis Spears, 4 Popsicles, 4 Fishbone Quill, which is kind of surprising. 2 Lucky Dime. 2 Twin Fire, too. So dealing 4 damage, but you have to discard a card. That can be pretty good. Discarding a card can really hurt, but it's still a pretty good card. I don't know how good this card will be in the meta, but it can get its job done. But it just feels like discarding of the card, 2 additional damage you've already paid 2, can really hurt. And so, Visions of the Future, Along Came Zeus, Whole New World, and Grab Your Sword. Grab Your Sword is really good at just taking out the aggro. A lot of aggro just only has 2 health. And so you're able to clear up a lot of the board and take care of it. So yeah, this was actually a really cool tournament to be able to look at and be a part of. We have a lot of amazing um, different kinds of decks. Dwarven Mind actually has been played a decent amount more, especially in like SteelSong or Amber Steel. And I'm just super excited to be able to see where this meta is going to go and how it is going to expand. One thing that is really interesting is Steel Amethyst only was able to get 5th, of course, but was the only Steel Amethyst in the top that we have reported so far. So anyway, guys, go ahead and let me know, what kind of decks are you looking forward to playing most? What do you think is also the best deck in the meta at this time? Go ahead and let me know in the comments, and see you next time.